Learn English through the story.
The Magical Box. Once upon a time, there was a poor preach in a village. To remove his poverty, he went to the forest and did severe penance. Lord was pleased with his penance. He gave the preach a miraculous box and said, "There are 4 sweets in this box. No matter how many sweets you take out of this box, 4 sweets will always remain in it." Considering the blessings of the Lord, the preach returned to the house with the magical box. On the way came the preach's maternal uncle's house. The preach stayed at the maternal uncle's house, and Mommy cooked the food. The preach had his meal, and then he lay down to rest, and then he fell asleep in no time. The maternal uncle wanted to know what was in the nephew's box. He opened the box and saw that there were 4 sweets in it. He distributed those sweets among the children. The sweets were delicious, so the children wanted to eat more sweets. She knew that she had taken out all 4 sweets, yet she opened the box, but there were still 4 sweets in it. Auntie also gave them to the children. Now Mommy is convinced that there is some magic in this box. Then he took a lot of sweets from that box. When the preach woke up in the morning, he saw many sweets in the house. He understood everything, but didn't say anything. He left with the box. After reaching home, he told everything to his wife. The wife became delighted. Now Preach has started a sweet shop. The sweets were delicious, so the customers kept on increasing. He started earning well. With that money, the preach bought a large shop. Then he also bought a big house. Slowly, the story of Preach's miraculous box reached the king. The king called the preach to the court. The preach gave a sweet each to all the courtiers from the box. Everyone praised the sweets very much. The king wanted to snatch this box from the preach. He gestured to a courtier. Seeing the opportunity, the courtier took the box and put another box in its place. The preach went home. When he looked in the box, there was no sweet in it. He understood everything. But he was helpless. In the end, he had to close his shop. The preach again reached the forest. He did hard penance again. Lord was pleased and appeared again. He understood the whole reality. He gave another box to the preach and said, "Now, don't worry about anything. From this box only you will get ladus, no one else." After bowing down to Lord, the preach returned to the house. On the way came the preach's maternal uncle's house. The preach went to sleep after having his meal. Seeing the box, Mommy wanted to get the sweets again. As soon as she opened the box, giant rats came out of it and started running here and there in the house. Auntie got scared. Everyone in the house woke up and started screaming in fear. Then the preach took that box in his hand, and all the rats became invisible. The next morning, the preach came to his house with a miraculous box. Now the preach have started the business of selling ladu. In a short time, the business took off. This matter reached the ears of the king. The king again called for the preach. The preach arrived at the court with the box, and he gave ladus to all the courtiers. The king changed the box of the preach with the same tactic as before. The preach came home with the changed box. The king opened the box, giant rats started jumping out of it. Wherever you looked in the palace, there were mice and rats. The king called for the preach again. The preach came and said to the king, "Till you don't give me back both the boxes, your palace will be dominated by rats." The king returned both his boxes to the preach. Now the rats have disappeared from the palace, and the preach came home with both the boxes. Now the preach started selling lattice as well as sweets at his shop. Now Preach and his wife have started living happily and peacefully with the children.